Today I want to show you a little guide on the most efficient way or the best ways that I've found to make money in Graveyard Keeper. Now I want to split that guide. I've split basically because there is a lot of ways that the game lets you make money. And even for the most efficient one, it really depends on how much money do you want to make at a specific time. Because obviously, the bigger amount of money you want to make, the more of a setup can be beneficial. Like if you want to just, you want to have a big pile of money to buy some of the most expensive items in the game, where you will want to have something like more than 10 gold, creating a setup that will take you hours of gameplay to be at a point where you can do it will be worthwhile. But obviously, if you just want to have a little bit of money, like let's say 10 silver, just even less than 10 silver, let's say 5 silver to buy a few things at a point early in the game, or to buy some of the first step in certain quests that cost money, like for example, upgrading the church, where you will need quite a few silver to do that, then a different method will be more efficient and faster, for example, to gather 20 silver than the same method that would be more efficient time-wise to gather something like 10 gold. Now, I've also split because there is some ways that you can do that are what I would call one-time event and ones that are repeatable. Now, here's one I want to highlight because early game, and when I'm talking early game, I'm talking if you want to do some actions that will give you money, but for less than 30 silver. This one is the one that you should always think about. If you're early game, you either want to buy something or something you want to do that requires money, the burial certificate are the most efficient item in terms of how much time you have to, how much action, how much energy you need to get them, and the values that they will bring you. The burial certificate are the best. Now, obviously, the big downside of burial certificate is that you don't decide how much you get. You cannot actively spend 10 minutes in the game to try to get as much as you want, because burial certificate only comes from receiving body from the donkey, so you can only get as much burial certificate as the donkey will deliver you body. Now here, that's I would say the best. Your best trading partner if you want to earn money, and exactly what item you can sell to them to get money. Now there is more items that you can sell to those NPC, like here the blacksmith doesn't just accept coal, you can sell him iron ore and a lot of iron made pieces like iron ingot, simple iron part or nail, but in terms of how fast you can gather them and the values they have, those are the most efficient item. Now here, with the Lighthouse Keeper, he also will buy your fish. But because of the fishing in this game is not really something I enjoy, I didn't really do a lot of it, so I don't have a good vision of what is, for example, the best fish that can make you the most money. Now here is a detail. For all of those NPCs, they start the game with a specific amount of money, and every day, even if you didn't interact with that NPC, it will gain some money. Now, the amount of money that they gain per day is not the same. Like as you can see, Oradric gained quite a lot, 70 copper every day. So the blacksmiths and Curry receive 10, you receive 5. Lighthouse Keeper also receive a big pile of money every day. But that's about it. Now, the money they have is generally the limiting factor. Because, for example, you can gather quite a lot of coal, but you will quickly, if you gather like 500 coal and then you go to the blacksmith, you won't have the money to buy all of it. Now, the game is quite well made, where the price of an item, the more of an item you sell to an NPC, the less they give you money. But over time, every night, all of those NPC, any items that they have in surplus of the amount of that they want, they sell. No, they cannot sell, and generally, with some exceptions, they don't sell an infinite amount. Like if you go to the blacksmith and you sell him 60 coal, every night he's going to sell 3 of them, or 2 or 1, depending on exactly how much he has in his inventory. which means that if you come and you sell him 50, then until the price of coal first is back to what it was, and also until the money of the NPC is at what it was, or even higher, because you make a profit out of everything you sell them, it's going to take more and more time. Now, some items are better. For example, if you want to make a little bit of trade, I would recommend stone, because stone has a very high value, which means that you are going to come to Quarry, and maybe if you want like 1 or 2 silver to buy something like some seed to plant some vegetable or something like that, then you're going to sell him maybe 5 or 10 stone, and in 1 week time the price of stone will be back to what it was, because his stock will be back to 25, which is the optimum stock that Corey wants to have in his inventory. Anything above, he will try to sell every night. And as well, his starting money, not his starting money, but the money he has, will be back to what it was before, with a little profit that he made. Which means that if you arrive to Corey on the first day or in the first few days of the game, he will have 5 silver, you sell him maybe 10 stone, it will maybe done something like 4 silver, and in another week's time, then he's going to be at 7 silver. And again, the price of stone will be back to what it was. Now here, what I've prepared below is sort of the maximum amount or an optimal amount of item and the money that we will get by going to all of those NPC and selling them as much as we can to make to have a lot of money on day 10, because the money they have grow passively every day. If you go to them on day 10, for example, he start with 6, he will have gained 10 copper every day, which means that he will have 690. By selling him 102 coal, we can get 689. And same with him. Here with firewood, those are the exact value at which firewood, before the price of firewood dropped to 0. So you can sell them more, because they will have, like here he has 10 silver, but any amount you sell above 52 will be only worth 1 copper per firewood piece. The first one you sell to Aradic, the first piece of firewood has a value of 4, and then it goes on to 3 and 2. So the 50-second piece of firewood is the last one that sells for 2 copper. So you can sell more, but just know that after those amounts to each of those NPC, the value you get for each firewood is lower than what it was before. And here, so that will be a small trip to craft the material and sell them, and it will get us 16 silver and 31 copper. Like I said, if you really want more, either you can wait more for the NPC to have more gold, or trade a little bit with them so they gain more money, or you can just make more firewood. In case you want to have something like 17 silver or 20, you could just craft a little bit more firewood or trade with them before. This is the first example. So we are in the game on day 10. I've already prepared all the materials that I want to go and sell. It took me about 5 minutes to craft the wool repair kit, gather the coal, the stone, and the tree, and transform them into firewood. I will also take the tools to show you a little bit something when we arrive in town. I'm just going to wait for the cooldown of the teleportation stone. Okay, so why do I say that this trade here that I'm doing on day 10 is a one use or unique? And that's because obviously once you sell to something to a merchant, then we generally take away some of his money and give him something in return. And if you take away all of his money, which is what we'll do to most NPC, then it will take them a long time until they have their money back. Now here I just want to show for the firewood the specific amount that I've selected. So here you can see the 50 piece has still a value of 2, but the next one has a value of 1. And that's the amount that I've selected for everyone where the firewood is still has a value of 2. Now if you want more, you can sell more, just craft more, but just know that anyone above 50 for Orodric or above 20 for the other NPC will have less value. But in case you really want more money, then you can do that. As well, obviously I have some burial certificate, but I'm not going to sell them, so that's the first sell. 50 firewood for 1 silver and 6 copper. The next one we are going to visit is Tress. Now, for Orodric, it doesn't really matter because he starts with a lot of money and he gains a lot of money every day. But for those other NPC, when you sell them something specifically, when you sell them a lot, like here I'm going to take away all of his money, and every night he's going to slowly sell those wood repair kit and gain money back. He's going to make a profit out of it, which means that if I wait for him to sell 6 wood repair kits that I've sold him and I come back, then he would have more money than what he would have if I didn't sell any of it. Now, depending on the amount you traded, it's going to take them a very long time until they are back with a decent amount of money, and also with their starting amount of material, so that the price is still a good price. Because obviously the more you sell of something, the less value it has. And here, for example, because I sold him 30 plus 34 stone, it's going to take him about 18 days to be back to his starting stock of 25 stone, and to be back at 6 silver that I sold, that I received from him. And here, as you can see, except Orodric, for every other NPC, they buy firewood for a cheaper price because they buy it. The starting price is at 3. If I cancel all of that, so here the starting price is at 3, and by Orodric it's at 4. So give you more money for firewood, and so that's why I only sell 20. And I made a little bit more because firewood. Because that's how much luck I had and wouldn't build it. Now, in terms of the best, the most efficient, in terms of the time you take to gather the material compared to how much you gain from them, coal is the best. Now here, the blacksmith a little bit more gold, and that's because on the second day when I come into the village to do the first early quest, I sold him the rusty sword, and because when you sell it, you like any other item, when you sell it to him, you sell it for a specific price, and then he sell it somewhere else during the night, and he gain money from it. So that's why he has 815 instead of the amount of coal that I wanted to sell. I wanted to get from him, which is 102. That's the amount of money, I believe it's 690, is the amount of money that he would have right now if I didn't sold him the rusty sword and didn't make a profit out of it. And here specifically, because I've sold more than 100 of coal, it's going to take Crestwold about 60 days, maybe a little bit less, to first sell out all of that coal, so the price is back to something good, because the first coal that you sell him sell for a value of 14, and here you can see the next one would be only 4 copper. So this value has already been almost divided by 3. Obviously he has a little bit more money because I said I sold him the sword and he made 1 silver and 25 copper of profit out of it, but if I didn't, then he would have just 1 copper left. And if I come back tomorrow, then it would have about 60 from selling free coal, plus 10 that he gained every day. So it would take a very long time to sell him back, for him to have more money so that I can sell him more to get something out of it. That's why I'm saying that sell is sort of unique, because once you do it, you sort of crash the economy of all of those merchants, and it will take them a long time to recover to both have money and have a stock that makes that when they buy the thing you want to sell them to, sells for a good price. No, same with the merchant. I bought some seed from the merchant, so he obviously would have, if you didn't buy any seed at the same day as time here, he would have a little bit less money. Here's something I'm selling in 20 firewood. The two that I have left are Dig and the Lighthouse Keeper. Now, same thing, I also bought some MSyn from him, so that way is a little bit more money. And the last one on the list. Now, obviously, depending on the exact amount of money that you want, you may not want to go to every one of those NPC to come and just sell them. Like here, coming up to here just to 42 copper. If you don't need them, then don't come here. But that's still an option that you need to know that exists. So here, I've said, so that's the amount of money I have, and I've made 16 silver and 31 copper worth of trade for 102 gold, 37 piece of stone, and 130 firewood. Now, I said it's quite important to, if you want to make money, to understand that when you sell something to an NPC, you take his money away and you give him something for him. Now, one thing that is really good is all of those rusty tools. If you want to make a buy, and like I did here, to buy a lot of stuff on a specific day, to the blacksmith, sell all of those rusty tools that you start the game with before, and at least one day before you come and you sell them. Because every time you sell a rusty tool or the sword to the blacksmith, he makes 125, 1 silver and 25 copper of profit when he sells the rusty sword, and when you sell him one tool and he sell it back to somewhere, he gains 25 copper, which means that by selling him all of your tool, you basically raise the amount of money that you can get from the blacksmiths by 2 silver. Here it is. So this technique here is the best way in the game in terms of what resources you have to give and how much money you get back from it. This is the best way to make money in the game. Now, the limiting factor is you can only use it 3 times. So it's part of the storyline with the Inquisitor. When you reach 60 with him, he says that because the witch burning have not been getting as popular as he wanted, he wants you to sell burger and beer to attract people and to make them enjoy the witch burning. So to do that, you need to craft the buffet table, which just costs some wood, wooden planks, some nail, and some hemp rope. And then you need to fill it by providing 5 gold star burger and 10 beer. And for every burning, it consumes the 5 gold star burger and the 10 beer, and it gives you 4 face point, which is amazing just for the face point, and 33 silver. And because you can do it 3 times, you have to wait 1 week in between every burning. But you can do it 3 times, which will give you 99 silver. That's almost 1 gold coin. Now, obviously, the big limiting factor here is that you can only do it 3 times. Now, the good part is that money that you will get from those events, I would recommend to use it to unlock some of the other money makings that you can have late game, which do cost some money to set up at first, but will give it back to you. And this is one of the best way to get that money. Now, the face point is also really good because face point can be used to progress in the game by unlocking, by researching items which give you tech points which let you progress in the game story. Now, obviously, to be at that point in the story so that you can start the witch burning, you will need to have progress into the Inquisitor questline. The first step is just coming here when you meet him. Then the step 2, 1 week later, is to give him some firewood and some flyer, which in terms of technology, I mean, the firewood is some of the first things that you will unlock in the game. It costs like 5 red points for this one, 5 red points for this one, so that's extremely easy. To make flyer is more complicated because you need to have opened the church and you will need to have some pen and ink and some paper, but it's something you can do like on the second week of the game. Where it starts to get complicated on the step 3 of the quest line, where you have to provide him with 20 silver quality wine. Now, there is 2 options for the quality wine. Is either you can craft them from the moment he gives you that quest. It will also unlock the blueprint table on the vineyard that is below. Now, very important, you don't have to wait for him to give you the quest to start making wine, because there already are some plots that are from the start of the game. The only thing he gives you is the ability to craft more vine tree, but you can start to make wine before. Now, making wine needs that you require to buy seed, and ideally you would want to have at least the fertilizer of silver quality, because if you just use peat, then you lose some seed, which means that you have to buy more seed every time you try to make an harvest. And as well, because if you buy, for example, silver quality seed and you just use peat, they will stay silver quality. Whereas if you use fertilizer, it will upgrade 1 seed of each harvest into gold quality, which will then let you plant gold quality grapes. Now, in case you don't want to make any wine, you can also buy it from the tavern. It's quite expensive. So if your goal was to make money, then buying, because you will need to buy 10 silver wine. So buying 10 to give them to the Inquisitor is not going to be productive, but in case you really don't want to make wine, then that's an option. Now, whether or not you make wine, that's basically the last step until you can unlock the witch burning. Now, obviously, to make the witch burning, don't just need to go that far, but you also need to craft the gold quality burger and to craft the beer. Okay, so here at home, you need gold quality burger, and to make gold quality burger, you require gold quality onion. Now, that's where part of the problem is. You cannot buy gold quality onion from the farmer. You can only buy silver quality onion at maximum, or silver quality seed, which means that what you will have to do is buy some onion seed, and then use some fertilizer that is not peat. So either you can use gold quality fertilizer or silver quality fertilizer to transform some onion seed and into gold quality seed, or as well, every time you make that, it already gives you 1 or 2 upgraded onion. Which means that no matter what you want to progress into that part, you need to have access to fertilizer. And to craft fertilizer, because one of the components is coming from alchemy, which you can unlock alchemy quite easily, but the material to craft the alchemy table are quite difficult to make, which means that it's not something that you can do like in the first 20 days of a new game. It will take a little bit more time until you are at the point where you can craft an alchemy table, craft some fertilizer, and then use that fertilizer to upgrade onion from silver to gold. That's not only steps, so you need 2 things. You need gold quality onion, and you need gold quality hops. Now, the gold quality hops you can buy directly, which means that it's not a requirement to cultivate it, but money-wise, it's probably better to buy the seed and then to craft it. Because you have to do the same for the onion, and you need at the same time to have beer plus burger, I would recommend that you start to grow the hops, but just know that the option is here to directly buy gold ops from the miller. So ops you get from the miller, but very importantly, when you start a game, the miller only has access to tier 1, which means that you can only buy or sell floor from him. As soon as you unlock tier 2 and then you wait the next day for tier 3 to be unlocked, then you can buy directly golden ops seed or directly golden ops instead. Now, to upgrade him, either you can trade with him until he got some money, or the way I would recommend is to use the Blessing of Commerce, which I will cover into more detail in a later point in the video, where I talk about upgrading the blacksmith. And for onion, it's quite simple. It's to the farmer, but it's exactly the same thing as with the miller. On tier 1, what is available when you start the game, there is no onion. Onion are only available in tier 2, which means same thing as for the miller. To unlock that part of the Inquisitor quest where you can make the witch burning, you will need to have upgraded the farmer so that you can buy some onion seed, and to have upgraded the miller so that you can buy some golden ops seed or some golden ops directly. Okay, and here, that's our merchant, and here, that's the silver ingot. Now, why is silver ingot good? Is obviously because they're very high price, and the merchant has a lot of money. Like, here it has insane amount of money because they sold him a lot of Blessing of Commerce, but normally he always has. It's one of the NPC that has the most money, so that shouldn't be an issue with him. And silver ingot are very good because they sell for a very good price. Now, the price does go on quite quickly. Like the first one is at 12 and number 10 is already something like 6 silver. So already if you sell 10 of them, you have the 11th one is going to have half the value of the first one you sell to him. Now the merchant only comes once a week, so every 6 days he will come back, which means that if every time you come here and you sell him 6 silver ingot, then when he's back in 6 days, he will have sold all of those 6 silver ingot and will be back to his starting stock of 2, and so the next week the one you sell him will again be at 12 silver, 25 for the first one. It means that if you want money but you want a lot from him, ideally you should sell 6 silver and then wait a week and sell another 6 one. But I would recommend, if you have something specific, like for example you want 80 silver, which is the amount required to open the tavern, or 50 to start his trade, that would be sufficient. But in case you want let's say a big amount, like 1 silver, but then you want to do another method that would be more efficient to get more than 1 gold out of him, you can also sell him 14 silver and then either wait 2 more weeks until you sell silver to him again, or just never sell silver to him again. Now for the next option, is about selling shovel to the blacksmith, but it has a very specific requirement. So in tier 1, the only tool it will buy are the rusty tool, which you cannot craft. You only gain them from starting the game, or you can buy them from him, then there is no point selling them back because you make a loss. What we want is to be able to sell him shovel. You could also sell the other tool, but because the shovel is the cheapest to craft, it's the best one to sell him. Now, the problem is obviously we need to get him to tier 2. Now, how the game works is the game waits for the NPC to have made a specific amount of money. Like, with the blacksmith, I don't know what is the exact amount, but he needs to have made about 75 silver to be able to upgrade to tier 2. Now, how this is possible is obviously either one, you can wait because every day is going to gain 10 copper, So you could wait, but it's going to take 100, if not 1,000 of in-game day for him to be to have enough money. So we want to speed that up. Now, how we can speed that up is obviously we can buy from him, because every time we buy an item from him, during the night he's going to restock that item. And because generally the price it cost him to generate another inner ingot, which is going to be pulled from the amount of money he has, is lower than the price that he sells them to us, he makes a profit of it. So for example, if I buy, so on the first one it doesn't make any profit because it actually cost him 80 copper to generate an inner ingot. But if I buy already a second one is 84, which means that if I buy 2 and then I come back tomorrow, it will have made 4 copper of profit from me. Now this works from anything you buy from him, but it also works for anything that you sell to him, which means that if I would sell him 1 coal piece, during the next night he's going to sell that coal piece and gain 20 copper of money, which means that because he sold it to me, I sold it to him for 14 copper, he made 6 copper worth of profit. Now, the more I sell to him, the lower the price. At the third, so the fourth piece of coal already has the price drop by 1, and then the price drop even more. Like you can see, like at 600 pieces start to be I only get 2 copper for each. But himself, no matter at what price I sold the coal, he still gets the same amount when he sell it out to whatever else he sells them to during the night. But the more you sell to him, the longer it takes, because during a day or during a night, he only sell a specific amount of coal. The more he has, like if I would sell one, let's say 10, then he would first like sell 2 per night, and then when he's very close to having the amount that he wants, which is 10, he's going to sell only 1. But if I sell him 600, then he's going to sell, I believe, 3 or 4 are the maximum that he can sell per night. It means that if I sell him 600 coal, it will take him maybe 250 in-game day until he actually made the profit off of it. But the game already calculates that into the tier unlocking, which means that if you really want to unlock an NPC, the best way to do that is to sell them a lot of items, because first, it's not going to give you a lot of money, because he buys them from you for very cheap, but because the game already calculates how much profit he's going to make, even if he's going to take 200 in-game day, it already lets you use that to unlock a next tier. So from a theoretical standpoint, it's very easy to unlock the next tier with an NPC. For example, what I can do here is if I sell him, obviously 600 stone is the maximum I can put in one box. I sell him 600 stone, and because he doesn't have enough money to buy all of those stone from me, I also buy some iron ingot, so it only cost him 715. And here we can see he's almost at what it needs. I have actually already made this, so I know that I need to sell him exactly 40 more coal. And as you can see, the vendor will unlock this tier of item tomorrow. So when I come back tomorrow, it will have sold a few coal, 3 to be precise, and it will already have started to restock the iron ingots that I bought from him. Which means that tomorrow it will gain 60 copper from selling the coal that I sold to him. Some of the coal that I sold to him, he will gain 10 copper that he gains every night, and he will use that to buy another iron ingot. So that's what I will do. I will come back tomorrow and show you exactly what does the inventory look like. So here I'm back the next day, and as you can see, the tier 2 has been unlocked. Also because as soon as you reach the amount needed to unlock tier 2, it's also automatically unlocked. Tier 3 just takes another day. And here it has exactly 80 money. Didn't so as I said, he was going to sell 3 coal. He didn't buy an iron ingot because the game doesn't allow him to be at exactly 0 copper. So that's why I didn't restock it. And now I've made shovel. And you can see I can sell shovel for a good price, 225. Now the problem is obviously I cannot sell him a shovel because he doesn't have the money for it. That's where trying to unlock, well, it's very easy to unlock tier 2. He doesn't have the money for you to be able to sell him something. And not only that, it's because any free money he has, let's imagine that I would sell him some shovel, and instead of waiting for him to have money, I can buy something from him. So I can sell him 2 shovel and I get some iron part instead. Now he has a shovel that he will sell during the night, which means that he will make some money out of it. And ideally I would come back tomorrow and sell him more shovel to get the money that he got from it. Now the problem is, as soon as you unlock tier 2, there is all of those new items that the blacksmith can have access. And the stock that the blacksmith wants to have of each of those items is he wants to have 2 iron chisel, he wants to have 10 steel ingot and 10 complex iron part. And the problem is any money you give him by buying something from him or by selling something and then he sell it during the night, any money that I now try to make him have, he's going to spend it during the night to generate all of those items. And the problem is, now that I have is every night to generate those 2, because he wants to have 10, but he cannot generate more than 2 per night. So every night, if he has any money available, he will try to make 2 steel ingot, 2 complex iron part, 1 iron chisel, because that's what he needs here. He will also make simple iron part because he's missing. He wants to have 20 of them, and he wants to have some iron ingots that I bought from him, and he wants to have 10 of them. Basically, every night, if he has any money available, he's going to spend it to create those items, and when I come back the next morning with something to sell him, he's still back to a very low amount. That's where, if you try to unlock the tier by doing it this way, which is very easy, it doesn't help you to sell him something because he will always be poor. Now for the game, it was able to unlock because here he has a lot of value. All of those calls that we sold to him, the game expects him to make money off of it. He will, and in 250 days he would have something like 1 gold with all the profits that he made from selling the coal. But the problem is I don't have 250 days to wait for him to realize the money as a profit from those coal. So it's possible to unlock the tier fairly easily. Just sell something to him, and specifically sell him a lot of something, so that he buys them from relatively cheap from you, and then he sells them. He expects them to sell them back, which means that if you want to buy something, that's a very good thing that you can do. Just sell a lot of something to the NPC, and then it unlocks the next tier, and it allows you to buy something that you maybe don't have the tech to craft right now. Like here I'm on day 7. I could have steel ingot because I already have some blue point, but in case you want something that is unlocked by that tier because you want to buy it, that's a way you can do it. Just sell a lot of something and it will unlock the next tier, but then it will make the NPC very poor for a very long time until he reaches the stock that he wants. Now you could say, okay, because every time you sell him a shovel, you sell it for 225, and any shovel he has in the inventory above the ones that he wants to have, because he just wants to have 1 in stock, is going to sell for 3. So you could sell him, from a theoretical standpoint, you could sell him enough shovel to cover the cost that is going to be needed to make all of the items that he wants to make every night. So he wants to make, as I said, 2 steel ingot, 2 complex iron part, and 1 iron chisel, plus things that I bought from him from tier 1. The problem is the amount of shovel you will need to sell him is 36, just for the tier, to complete the tier 2 item every day. So every day we'd have to come and sell him 36 shovel, and he doesn't have the money to buy them. And if you buy more items from him, it's just creating another problem. Thankfully, there is a solution, but it requires something that you cannot have early game. Okay. So here instead, I want to show you a proper way to do it because as I've discussed before, just by opening is not sufficient. It also need to have sufficient amount of money. So how you can do that is with Sauce Bad Boy. So you start what is called a blessing of commerce, and you get that by making the prayer for prosperity. And when you make the prayer for prosperity, if you have a success when you do the sermon, then you will get 1, 2, or 3, depending if the prayer you made is bronze, silver, or gold quality. Now, what Sauce do is when you sell them to a merchant, first he buys them for 1 silver. And what is going to happen is during the next night, he's going to sell that blessing of commerce, and he's going to get 32 silver for it. And that's why the bar has raised so much, because the NPC knows that during the night he will soon gain a lot of money, so it's close to having the next tier unlock. Now, if I sell a second one, it's going to push over the limit and unlock tier 2. And here, as we can see, he has 63 silver. And when I will come back the next day, and here I'm back the next day, and as I said, so he sold the 2 blessing of commerce that I sold to him, and now he has 1 gold 30. And said what is important is that he will now have enough gold so that if I come back tomorrow, it will still, despite the fact that you will have stocked 1 more iron chisel, 2 more steel ingot, and 2 more complex part, we still have enough money that I can trade with him. Now, why is a shovel good compared to anything else that you can sell to another NPC? It's not the time it takes to craft the shovel compared to the price they sell. Is that, let's imagine that I have a lot of shovel, and by selling all of the shovel I bring his money down to 0 or close to 0. All of those shovels that he has in his inventory, no matter how many you sell to him, he's going to sell them all during the night. Which means that if I bring him to 0 by selling him, let's say, 50 shovel by making 3 trip, so I won't have the inventory space. Let's imagine that I sell him 50 shovel and he has 0 money. Then when I come back the next day, he has sold all of those 50 shovel and he has 1 gold again. Which means that if you want to repeat that process, you can do it multiple times. Now on tier 3, you can also sell him the shovel 2, which have even more value. Like those one, when you sell them to him, they have value of 225. And another point that we see, they don't go down in value. Like as you can see here, it was 225. If I were to buy every shovel he has, let's imagine I didn't sell any to him, or he had 1 starting his inventory, it's always 225. No matter how many shovel you sell to him, the price is always exactly the same. So outside of the price, the shovel 2 can also be sold, and they have a better price. Now the difference, let me go back home, the difference in terms of crafting between if you want to craft shovel 1 or shovel 2 is that it takes steel and it takes complex iron part. Now the complex iron part not really that much because you just mean 1 more step to craft them. Why I don't recommend to make shovel 2 is because let's imagine that, unless you really have the material for it, but let's imagine that you have 2 furnaces that you want to use to craft ingot, to craft shovel to sell them, and you want to maximize the amount of money you have with those, because you are limited by the amount of iron ingots that you can craft. Let's imagine that I have 2 furnaces here, and either I set both of them to only smelt iron ingot, and then I transform all of that into shovel 1. Or I have one of them creating iron ingot, and then the second one I transform them into steel ingot. Because it takes an additional 3 minutes for each steel ingot, here is 2 because that's furnace 3. And because it takes another 3 minutes after I've already smelted iron once, it means that basically you are limiting the number of shovels you can craft. Now, obviously, if you have a lot idle time of your furnaces and you are more limited by the amount of time yourself are going to craft, then crafting shovel 2 is better. But if you really want to maximize, let's say, 25 minutes you want to craft as many shovels as you can and sell them, then the best way, the most amount of money that you will have is by crafting shovel 1 instead of shovel 2, because all those additional minutes that it will take to transform the iron ingot into steel ingot don't make for the difference in price. Like, it takes more than double the time to prepare the material for a shovel 2, and they don't sell for double the price. But it's only like the smelting times that make a difference. In terms of crafting time, the 2 extra steps you have to do to transform the simple iron part into complex iron part. In terms of crafting time, then it's better for shovel 2, but in terms of smelting time, then shovel 1 are far better. And the last step, so when you advance throughout in the merchant quest, at some point he will want to start a business with you, a business where you craft vegetable, you make crate of vegetable, you bring them to the depot, and then he sells them for you and give you money. It's a really good way to make a lot of money because it's repeatable, and the amount of money you get corresponding to the time it takes you to craft the material, either the material or the vegetable, is really good. Now, there is a limit of how many crates you can sell per week, which means that if you really want to make money as fast as possible, then you can only sell 10 crates per week. Even if you yourself you have the time to craft more, you can only sell 10. But 10 is already quite a good amount to craft. Now, here is where you have 2 options. Either you can make vegetable, or you can make some material. Now, in terms of material, the best one, in terms of time to gather the material and to craft them, is crate full of complex iron part. Crate of nail is the next one, and also because if you want to automate it with zombie, then crate of nail is probably better, because then you don't have to have 2 extra zombie, one to craft simple iron part and another one to transform the simple iron part into complex iron part. Here's this one would be simpler. You have one that makes flitches, one that makes nails, one that makes a crate, obviously, but that's it. Now the rest, this one is really bad because you cannot automate the process to gather clay, and that's a really big amount of balls that you need. And this one would be even better than to craft the ball, because you just have to craft the ball and then transform them into furnaces. But those 2 are way too simple compared to the rest. Those here are not especially bad, like the 10 polished brick of marble is not that bad, and the 10 carved piece of stone is not that bad, except that to make the carved piece of stone you need face, which is quite a valuable resource, and I wouldn't recommend to transform them into crate. Now, in case you are lacking a little bit of blue point for something, and that could be an option, because gathering marble and polishing marble give you a little bit of blue point. I believe it's 1 blue point every time you transform the marble, and then another one when you polish the brick of marble into a polished one. But there are far better ways. So source one, in case you want to craft them. Vegetables are faster in terms of the time it takes you, because obviously you just have to harvest them, or you can automate as well, but it's time-wise it's far more efficient to plant them yourself. Planting them is the best way, because it only takes you like 1 second to plant them and 3 to harvest them, which means that most of the time required to make vegetable is the time it takes them to grow. But it's a good thing, because while the vegetables are growing, you can do something else, which means that just every 36 minutes, if you don't use any fertilizer, you come back, you harvest all of it, that takes you 25 seconds, you plant it back, then you come back in another 36 minutes. Now, it takes a lot of seeds, and that's where, depending on how fast you want to start to make money, it's going to be an issue, because until you have enough seed to plant either onion, pumpkin or lentils, then that was the time that you are not making money. Whereas Source 2, you at the time that you can unlock the trading with a merchant, you will have the technology to craft and probably some of the material already to craft Source 2. Where here, it takes a lot of setup time to have a lot of multiply the seed, and then once you have a lot of seed, it's way better to craft vegetable, but because it takes a lot of time to get a good number of seed, it's maybe not the fastest method. So if you want to really make a lot of money using that, then I would recommend that you start to make vegetable and start to multiply them. Because as soon as you will have, like here I already have something like 10, enough to plant 10 times onion, and probably even more in my chest. That would mean that here, if I planted only onion, then I could probably make almost 2 harvests a week, which would make probably like 4 or 5 crate already, by just probably investing something like 1 minute of my time every week to make about 1 gold. Now, the second thing is the tavern, which is far better than the crate factory, but the tavern is only available if you have the Stranger Sin DLC. So in case you don't have it, then only good way to make money or late game efficient way to make money would be the crate factory. But if you have the Stranger Sin, then that's here exactly what you want. Grapes, and specifically you want to have gold grapes. And same as said before, you can automate it. There is technology where you can put a zombie. Is it this one? Here you can make zombie. Now, why I don't recommend using zombie is because here, most of the crafting time is just planting and then waiting. Now, if you use a zombie to do that, it's going to take more than twice the time for the zombie to produce the same amount. And the only operation you need to do is every 36 minutes, come here, harvest it, and plant it. It would take you 3 seconds per plot. To do all of it would probably take you 30 seconds to walk here, collect all of them, and then plant them back. Which is that, in my eye, the fact that because you are limited in terms of how much space and how much grape seed you have at first, then I would recommend to farm yourself, because you can have twice as many grapes, and those twice as many grapes will make twice as much money. Now, same thing as the vegetable for the crate factory. The slow part is the start, because you can buy grape seed from the merchant, but because your goal is to make money, you don't want to buy a lot of them. So most of it will be multiplying the seed, which means that you probably buy 8 or even 16 if you wait a bit for the merchant to have more, and then you want to make 16 to be able to plant as much grape as possible. There's a total of 32 plots that you can use. Here I have not even used all of them, because at this point I already have all the money that I needed to finish the game. But that's where you want to multiply the seed. Now, if you use silver fertilizer, you will gain a little bit of seed, between 1 and 2 for each plot that you plant. But if you use gold seed, you double the number of extra seeds that it gives you. And with gold quality fertilizer, you almost get twice the amount of seeds that you planted. Let's imagine that you obviously always plant 8. Then you can, depending on how lucky you are, you can almost double it. It's on average going to be 1.5, a little bit more than 1.5 as the amount of seeds that you planted that you will get back. And if you really want to maximize, you can also use the boost fertilizer. The boost fertilizer reduces the time that it takes for the seed to grow into grapes by 60%, which means that instead of 36 minutes, which is normal time that it takes for grapes and hops to grow, it's down to a little bit more than 14 minutes. So if you use both quality and boost fertilizer of gold quality, then you can make 1 harvest every 1 day and a half, which make 4 harvests per week. And that's really the most amount of money that you can make in 1 week in Graveyard Keeper, is by having a full vineyard, harvesting all of it, planting back the quality and the boost fertilizer, and then planting it back. So you make 4 harvests per week, you harvest all of that grape, transform it into wine, and sell it. But the big problem with, it's not that big, but the problem with using both quality and boost fertilizer is you cannot just press twice the action button to just add the fertilizer and then add the seed back, because you need first to add the one type of fertilizer, but the game doesn't remember the second type of fertilizer, which means that you have to do what I did here, and then here click select the other type of fertilizer that it didn't remember, and then you can add the seed after it, which means that for every plot that you plant, it takes you about 2 more seconds to add both fertilizer and then to plant them. And that's really the big downside of using the boost fertilizer, in my eyes, because you have to make all of those clicks for every one of the plot. But in terms of time efficiency, because you more than double the amount of grapes that you get in the same time, it's really worth it. And I would especially recommend, like at first, when you have only a few seed and you are trying to multiply them so you can plant more, that's generally when I would absolutely recommend to using boost fertilizer. Because if you have to wait 36 minutes until you have a little bit more seed, to instead of planting 2 plots because you bought 8 seed, to plant a third one, if you can do another one in 14 minutes instead of having to wait 36, which means that at the same time you are going to have not only twice as many grapes during that time, but twice as many seeds, so you'll expand your production way faster. Now you can also make hops, and let me go into my basement. So in the tavern, the 2 best-selling items in terms of value are wine, obviously gold quality if you can, and beer. Now, beer require also wheat, but it's very easy to grow wheat. Now, in terms of how much money you get from beer and how much time it takes to grow them, because it uses the same farming plot as grapes, beer will give you less money than grape in the same time, which means that if your vineyard is 50% grapes and 50% beer, you could get more money by making it 100% wine. Now, obviously, because you will need to make some gold beer during the story, you have to make some hops anyway. So generally, I start to make both of them, and as I've shown here, like here in this game, I already have enough money to buy everything that I need to finish the game. So, and I didn't even finish multiplying enough grape seed to have everything covered in grapes, which means you don't really have to worry too much. If you have the Stranger Seed, then see like the amount of money you need to finish the game, which is you need 12 for the aristocrat paper and a little bit more for the rest. You probably need like 14 gold total maximum. You can get it quite quickly with grape. I said I didn't even finish multiplying. I have enough to plant all of this, but as you see, I didn't even bother to create them because I already had more than enough money with what I already had planted.